Welcome to episode 7 of Getting Real with John Natale. Today, we are talking about competition and keeping that competitive edge throughout your real estate career. Everybody knows that real estate is, has been, and will always be more or less a cutthroat, highly competitive business. There is no doubt that if you've been in this business at least a year, you've felt the competitive nature in a lot of real estate professionals. And in this episode here of Getting Real, I'm going to highlight what you should view your competition as. Who is your actual competition? What you can and should be doing to grow your business and keeping that competitive edge. As much as out there, it can be cutthroat. People can screw over other people. All these different things can happen, but that also doesn't need to be you. And that's what we're going to cover today, is how I've kept a competitive spirit, what that competitive edge looks like to me, and at the same point, how you can take that into your own career, put your spin on it, and go and win for your clients. Trust me when I say this. I am so damn appreciative of you for listening to this podcast, for supporting our mission to redesign the real estate industry. It's a big one, it's a grand one, and it all starts right here. So I'm so damn appreciative that you're even just tuning in, whether you're listening, you're watching me, doesn't make a difference. I'm so appreciative of that. If you could subscribe to this podcast, like this episode, continue to support our mission here at Getting Real, I'd be so damn appreciative of you. Now let's dive in to competition. The real estate industry, even if you are brand new, you've probably seen that competitive drive, especially in a market where transactions are retreating the amount they have. I just saw a report yesterday, and we're filming this in the end of October, that the annualized rate of homes selling dropped below 4 million units. For comparison, in 2021, which was that boom year, 6.2 million units. And now annualized from last September, just now this past September, we are under 4 million units. And the reality is, I don't think it's getting better in terms of units anytime soon. So the market is going to stay competitive. It is going to be even more cutthroat. It is going to be harsher for some. However, that doesn't mean you have to change the person you are. If you feel like that cutthroat aspect of things is not you, because it certainly is not me, doesn't mean you have to get involved in it. Doesn't mean you have to breach the line of what ethics really are just to get a deal done. It means you can continue treating people fairly. It means having a long-term vision towards this business. That's what's most important to me when it comes to competition. You see, a lot of people come out, I've been doing this 15 years. A brand new agent who comes into this business is not necessarily competing with me. If they go out on a listing appointment, it's most likely a sphere, friend of a friend, family member. In those first few appointments, they're probably not calling the industry expert, the local expert of choice. They're calling you because they trust you. They like you and they know you. So when you are a brand new agent, I heard this from Andy Frisella probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. There are rooms to every single industry. Every single industry has competitive rooms. And when you are in the brand new agent room, you are competing with basically everyone, but you have a lot of people in the same room as you, right? There's a lot of newer agents. There's that 1 to 3 year room where a lot of people are still new, still trying to figure out contracts, really don't know what they're doing, have a certain degree of knowledge, are putting themselves out on social media. It doesn't mean that they're have no knowledge at all. It just means they're still learning. And you're competing with a lot of those people, a lot of them. And then anyone that's been in this business 3 years can attest to this. In 3 years, your room starts to change a little bit. you don't have the same issues or the same questions from clients as you did when you were a brand new agent. You see, the people that are out there doing the same amount of business as you, that room has shrunk by quite a bit, to be honest. Then once you get out of that new agent room of competition and into that 3-year room, again, this is as long as you are producing. If you sold 3 houses over 3 years and you're just keeping your license to do your own business or a friend or family once a year, totally different story. But when this is your job, this is your career, this is how you want to provide for your family, you notice around year 3, things start to change. And that room gets a little bit smaller than that new agent 1 to 3 year room. Gets dramatically smaller. And then you know what's like even crazier? And I'm seeing agents in my company that have been doing it this long with me. You get to that 5-year room and it's even less. Because again, even though there might have been people who had success year 3, but maybe they got burnt out. Maybe they realized, especially with the market changing, a lot of transactions dropping, this isn't for them, and they're out. And so the 5-year room gets even less. And then what ends up happening is when you're in this business after 5 years, the next big drop off is year 10. And what happens between 5 and 10 typically for people, and somewhere around year 7, is you start to leverage either your time or your business. So that's where you maybe evolve into having a team. This is where you maybe evolve into having an assistant, a showing agent, a transaction coordinator, because you're producing enough that you don't necessarily have the time for all those tasks that you had when you were a 3-year agent. And the people you're competing against in that 5-year room is dramatically different from the people that are in the 1-year room. Again, there's always business to be had for friends, family, close sphere. But I'm talking about like actually competing for business where sellers that don't have that person are thinking of people. When you're in that 5-year room, if you're going up against a brand new agent, you're probably winning 99 out of 100 times. And then when you go to the 10-year room is kind of where things change and you're more or less competing with other leaders. Now, again, you could just still be running your own team. You could still be highly producing. It's not, okay, between 5 and 10, we get out of the business and now we just compete with other leaders and brokers and all that stuff. Not in the slightest. But your competition changes even more because there's less and less people like you that have been in this business that long. And like Andy Frisella says, this is with basically any business. But I find it to be especially true here in real estate. Especially true in real estate. And the reason being is it's a snowballing type career. When you think about it, when you're brand new, you have no past clients, no anything. You're just trying to figure it all out. Trying to just honestly make your first dollar. Know that you can close a deal. But by year 3, you've closed 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 transactions. And you have that base of knowledge underneath you. And then by year 5, you're way past like the learning stage. Now you're in the growth stage. And by year 10, when you're in that more like leadership or very high producer, that competition has mostly dropped off from where you're really competing. So the beauty of it is as you go on and get closer to that 10-year mark, each one of those stages means more of your past clients are then referring you business. And if you stay in touch with them, do past client events, do all these great things, holiday pop buys, which we have coming up, all these great things to keep your sphere of influence growing and also further supporting your mission, it then becomes a little bit easier for you as well because people are just calling you. So the longer you stay in, the longer calls like, hey, I haven't spoken to you a while. I have this friend and they're looking to move. They have to sell and buy and here you go. Here's this business. So things get easier as you go on too, which helps propel you even further. So again, if you're not selling any real estate year 1, you haven't sold any real estate year 2, and you haven't sold any real estate year 3, this is not the message for you. This is for the person that gets in this business, wants to make their first dollar. After that, they're looking, okay, well, how do I now survive? Year 3 is where you start to actually build some consistency into your income, right? That's where you can say, okay, I make at least one to 2 closings a month, depending on your market, netting, $10,000 to $15,000 a month in terms of gross commissions. And here's how I can make that into building wealth, living below my means, all the things I talk about in my episode about personal finance. And then once you get to year 5 to 10, that's where you start to really look at this as a business. And it's why agents that I coach personally, I have them doing this with me from day one, especially the newer agents. Because you should always have that mind. Yes, you should be 100% focused on figuring out how to make money early on. You can't get to year 10 if you don't sell real estate in year 1 through 9. However, you should always have that mindset of working on the business, not just in it. And that's the big change that typically happens for agents that aren't focused early on between 5 and 10. Because you've had the success, you've had production, you've had so much come your way, but then more or less it becomes like a time aspect. You can only, like a real estate agent, even in a very AI-based world that is leveraging a lot of technology, still, like to a certain degree, maxes out personal sales somewhere between 36 and 60. Like you physically can't sell by yourself, no admin, no assistant, no showing agent, 250 homes in a year. And if people are saying that, they are completely lying to you. Completely lying. Could people produce more, especially if it's a cheaper market and you have so much turnover? Absolutely. But if you are walking people through a process by yourself without an assistant, admin, anything like that, most people can handle anywhere from 3 to 5 transactions per month, realistically. That being buyers, sellers, everything in between in terms of your time. Between years 5 and 10 is where you start to leverage some things back. So you could grow more. So you hire an assistant so you can go from 60 transactions to 75, 80. Still with the same amount of work, maybe even less, but you're ramping your units up and your income up. And what happens is when you get to year 10, that's where like things really start to change, especially when it comes to competition. Because I look at myself now 15 years in this business and I truly compete. I'm being 100% honest, truly compete with maybe 7 to 10 people in my market. Where years 1 and 2 and 3 in 2008, even though, many agents were leaving the business at the time, I was competing with tens of thousands. In years 3, maybe it's 3,000. Years 5, maybe it's 500 people. It gets dramatically smaller. By year 10, maybe I was competing with 100. And now as a company owner, I'm really competing with 7 to 10 people, if that I see as my true competitors. Whether it's someone calling us to a listing, whether it's more or less as a broker owner competing to get new agents into this business, help them grow their business, be the most successful they can be. That's who I'm really competing with at this point. So I want you to understand these rooms and this theory behind it, because it's so important in terms of mindset to, one, obviously lasting in this business, but 2, continually growing in this business. Because it's very hard to always see the bigger picture when you're just focused on the listing, the seller that just called you because they can't get out of their house in time. So that's going to delay their move to the next house. You got to call that agent and say, hey, we're not closing on time. But then they were moving somewhere else. It's so easy to get bogged down in that and not think about like the long-term game in real estate. And I think a lot of competition gets tied to that because we focus so fiercely on like the one agent that screwed us over on a deal, and we see that as competition, when in reality we should see like who are we actually competing against at this phase in our career, and how am I going to get to the next room that John's talking about? How do I get to where I want to be? And it looks different for everyone. Years 1, 3, 5, 10, and then realistically like 15, 20 plus. Because that, again, you're competing with so few at that point. One of the most important parts now in terms of my views towards competition is understanding that long-term mindset, that long-term vision. No matter what, in this industry, you have to be competitive to a degree. To a degree is so important that you understand that. Because here's what happens. If you are this hugely egotistical person that only cares about them, mind you, you're probably not listening to this right now, but I digress. If you are this hugely egotistical person that has to win at all times, no matter what, you always have to feel like you're better than the other person, you are going to be called an asshole. And what happens is, one of the reasons I think I've lasted so long in this industry and kept happiness, haven't gotten down, keep going, keep building, keep growing, keep going after it, is the fact that I have unbelievable relationships with my peers, my colleagues, and to a degree, my competition. Because I've never treated anyone like shit. And when you treat people like shit, what happens is After like 3, 4, 5 years of it, yeah, maybe your clients like you, but every agent in your market hates you. So when it comes to trying to get a deal for your client, you then have to like bluster yourself up to try to get it, and it's not copacetic, doesn't work anymore. People don't want to deal with you, and you quickly get burnt out because you're always having to up your game in terms of that cutthroatness, that bluster, and the bullshit. You don't actually come from contribution and work. Like, one of the problems people have that I see is that they are so egotistical in this business that they will do anything that their clients covet them, but you don't realize like who you actually deal with 90% of the time is the other agent in the transaction. You two working together or working with attorneys, working with title companies, working with lenders, like all of that is so much more important than just your client experience. Like, your client experience will be great if you are well respected by everybody else in the transaction. So yes, you should absolutely be competitive. You should absolutely go after in life. And I'm going to highlight some of the things that are always drive me. However, you should not try to be that person that is like, I'm going to win for my clients no matter what. I'm going to screw over whoever I have to screw over. I'm going to let them know that I just outclassed that other agent, did this to screw over someone, made this person feel embarrassed. It doesn't help you in the long run. It may work for 3 years. But like I said, when you get to that 5-year room or that 10-year room, when you're competing against industry experts, you are not going to win anymore. And you're probably going to be the person that burns out. You're probably going to be the person that gives up. You're going to be probably the person that's just eventually like, this isn't for me. Or you're going to be the Lone Ranger, right? You're going to go and rather than building a team and building a world and building something great way past yourself, everything will continue to be about yourself because people don't want to deal with you. So you should know very early on in your career, again, you're probably, if you're that hugely egotistical person, you're probably not listening to this message right now. So I'm probably talking to you, the person who's caring, wants people to win, wants to treat people fairly. But at the same time, going that direction works for a little bit because clients love you. It's like the classic narcissist. Like, clients will love you because on the surface it looks great. But after a while, agents don't want to deal with you. And as someone who's been in this business 15 years, I've seen it time and time again. There's plenty of agents in our market that to their clients, they think they're gods or goddesses. And then they come out here and every agent absolutely hates them. And also, like, what does that look like for, like, even if, okay, you are getting the clients, always having a battle like that, like, that's stressful as hell, having to always deal with that. So there's a line and there's a degree in which competition matters, where you should also look at your competition in terms of, like, who could get the listing, who can get the buyers. They are still your peers, they're still your colleagues, because you have to work with everyone time and time again. The reason I've been so successful is the fact that if I get on the phone, if one of the agents at my company have to put an offer in on a property, and it's an agent that I know very well, I can get on the phone, not get a deal. They're not going to give away anything. But at the same time, they know that agent at my company will do an amazing job getting their client to closing and fight and communicate just the same way I would because they're at my company. That's powerful. That's powerful as hell for agents who work here. Rather than if I was degenerate, I was egotistical, people hated me, didn't want to work with me, knew that, okay, yeah, I'm experienced, but at the same time, he's kind of a jerk off. He just, he does whatever he can to screw over the other side of a deal. It's never good to work with. That wouldn't help agents at my company. And in turn, they probably wouldn't want to work here. So we get deals for our clients that work through the agents at our company solely because of all the agent relationships I've built. And you don't get those by being an egotistical jerk-off. You get it by having competitive drive, competitive fire, to a degree. To a degree, because we work with our competition. It's one thing, like, we're not sitting here on the PGA Tour golfing against each other where it's an individual sport. We don't have to work together. We don't have to talk to, we can just compete. We are competitive, but we're also colleagues and do deals with the people we're competing against. So how do I view competition? Right? I want to talk about this for a little bit because I've already highlighted those rooms of competition you have, why you shouldn't be a totally egotistical jerk off when it comes to competition. But I want to highlight what competition looks like to me. because I think sharing this insight will help you. How I view competition is, again, I know the people that I'm competing with are my colleagues as well. So to go out and try to embarrass other people or make them feel bad is not going to help me in the long run. However, as someone who's running a company now, do I have to feel in my heart that this company is the best for most agents getting into this business? I absolutely do. I would say 99% of agents in our local market here at the Jersey Shore would benefit by calling our company home. We have best-in-class studio that I'm sitting in now. We have unbelievable media company that helps you with marketing. We have a great leads program where you get 10 plus leads a month from us for free for creating content. You have my full support as a broker. So if you have a question, you call me, I answer it. Not many companies have that. They have someone who's sitting that sold real estate in 1995 that's your team leader or your broker manager, but they're basically just doing it for a salary because they wanted to get out of the fact of selling real estate. And that's who you have as a leader. Where you have someone like me who's all about your business and growing it, because if you succeed, I succeed. There's so many benefits to working here. However, I'm also cognizant of the fact that not everyone does. We are not a huge company. We're a small company. We're brand new. And at the same time, if I went out and I said every single other place that you work is absolutely awful, it stinks, the people there suck, you don't get anything offered to you, and make people feel bad about working there, that wouldn't help me very much. The reality is, I have to believe in my heart that this is the best. But that doesn't mean all other avenues are terrible. Same thing in your real estate business. You should believe you provide the best experience to a selling client in that neighborhood you want to work. And if you think someone else offers a better experience, better your damn experience. Get better. Hire better marketing. Get a better photographer. Get a better videographer. Push out more content about the house. That's how I've always seen it. If I saw my competition doing something, I went and said, okay, how can I do that and do it better? Right? I've been hiring a videographer since 2015 to video properties. 2015. There's still plenty of agents in our market now that still don't do video. It's 2023. It's 2023. And there's agents that still don't do video. Again, there's always going to be people that hire someone because of the fact they know them, right? But I know in my heart, and this is why I've been so successful, is I always upped the experience for clients. Like I saw there was a huge need for setting expectations about 8 years ago. Clients always had a question like, hey, John, now that the inspection's done, what do I do? Hey, when's the time to get the certificate of occupancy from the town? Hey, what should I expect at closing? So you know what I did? I built out an easy system of setting expectations for clients that now it's fully automated. I used to have to do this manually. Fully automated where as we go through and update the stage in our back office CRM, our clients get an email from us with what exactly to do, what to expect. Here's the craziest situation we've ever seen. Here's what should happen. And here's what happens if crap hits the fan and we lose the deal or something happens, we have to go back on the market. All of that is built out for our clients. At a time, though, that didn't exist. But I saw a need and I said, no one else probably does this. I've heard of it like a few times. I said, okay, we need to add this into our business, make sure these expectations are being set. And now our clients, like there's no real questions that come our way. So we free up our time. And at the same time, our clients have a better experience. These are all items that I've added into my business as a listing agent or as a buying agent to help the client win more because I saw what others are doing and I wanted to improve their experience even more. So if you don't look out at your competition and say, hey, what are they doing that works? Like what kind of content are they creating? What kind of marketing are they doing for listings? If you're not constantly looking at those things and saying, how am I improving my product, my service? You're not going to win in the long run. You can't stay stagnant. You can't have the same 30-point bullet point marketing plan that stays the same from 2023 to 2027. Guys, social media changes basically every 3 months nowadays. So your marketing plan should be changing, honestly, if not every month, every 2 to 3 months, you should be revising it. Because you should be doing something new. You should always be up on the latest technology. We all have the latest information. Whether you're here watching this on YouTube, you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple, like there's other podcasts, there's other videos you could watch about what's latest in the real estate industry. Right now, preferably do it after you listen to this. However, that's the type of person you have to be when it comes to being competitive as an individual agent. is understanding like, hey, I want the best for my clients, and how can I make this work into my marketing plan? You know, the one thing I didn't say in that is always, always, always cutting the commission, right? Like you could always cut commission to be competitive. And in some situations, it will make sense. I'm not going to be the person here that says, especially in our market where price points are pretty high, that you always have to charge 6%. Yeah, if you're selling $200,000, $300,000 homes, I get it. Probably does have to be 6 or 7% to be worth your time. However, here, where our median price point's $800,000, $900,000, it does make sense. Like if someone's like, hey, if you do it for 4 versus this person that does it for 5, I'm going to list with you. Like, okay, it's okay to be competitive in that sense. However, if your only competitive nature is in dropping commission, you're going to be in trouble. Because then you're always on that endless cycle of always dropping the commission, and then their friends, their referrals, everyone around you is going to expect that from you. So now for me, what this really looks like from a company owner standpoint is I look out, I see what we're offering here, what other companies are offering, and at the same time, I want to improve the agent experience. The whole reason I'm doing this leads program for free and by just making content is because I know if agents invest in their personal brand, I can invest back in them. That's going to grow their business way past any amount of leads that comes in. However, there's plenty of teams around here that run Zillow Flex teams, where Zillow Flex teams offer, and they get on social media day in, day out, all these different teams around me, get in on the phone, get in on social media and say, your phone's going to ring, you're going to go show a house. Yeah, you're only going to make 20% of the sale at the end of the day. But agents don't know that from the marketing, that they're not talking about those numbers. So they're talking about how you can get leads at their company right away, which is important. And most people, I very early in my career, yes, I needed to get on the phone. There wasn't this, you could pay for leads, but it was like today, very expensive. And if I didn't have money, I wasn't going to pay for leads. So I went out and created the business myself. But not everyone's going to do that. So having the ability to come into a company that has leads is important. And I noticed that because I got competitive. If I just let it be and didn't get competitive about things, then I wouldn't be where I am today having that program in my company. Again, you should be looking out at what your competition does from an agent standpoint. How are they upping the experience? What kind of past client events are they throwing? What kind of holiday giveaways are they doing? And you should try to offer the same as, if not better, to whichever room of competition you're in. And when you get to a point like I am running a company, you're going to look at other companies. See what the franchises are doing. See what some of the virtual brokerages are doing. What the other indie brokerages are doing. And say, how can I up their experience to make my company the destination of choice for agents getting into this business? And if you don't have that competitive drive, you are not going to be successful. You need that competitive drive to a degree. That's the message of this podcast. Do not overthink it. Go after it. Go from years 1 to 2. Get to that 3-year room. Get to that 5-year room. Get to that 10-year room. Get 15 years plus. It can look different for you. It does not need to look the same as what I did. And if you focus on these things, if you're always looking at what's next in terms of your competition, you will win. You will win for your clients. You will win for your family. Most importantly, you will win for yourself.